The Pei family went bankrupt, and my best friend said she couldn't handle the hardship and wanted a divorce from Weston Pei. I glanced back at Yuan Pei, who had been my husband for 3 years and still acted indifferent towards me. I nodded and said, "Me too. I can't handle the bitterness of love." She got divorced, and so did I. A year later, the Pei family made a comeback. On my way to a gala, I received a call from my best friend, "Hurry. Run. Our ex-husbands have gone crazy." Before she finished speaking, the car door was yanked open. The usually refined and gentle Yuan Pei revealed a sinister smile. "Got you, darling." A year after the divorce, my career was constantly facing crises. A fortune teller said we needed a wife-boosting man. So, Willow dragged me back to the country for a blind date. It was still the two brothers. We all had a pleasant conversation during the meeting. But halfway through, the older brother went to the restroom and returned with a deathly pale face. "I think, Missy, you've both been divorced, so it's probably not suitable." Upon hearing this, the younger brother got anxious. "How is it not suitable? People shouldn't be so superficial. Everyone has the right to pursue a second chance at love." The older brother's face lost what little color it had. He frantically covered his brother's mouth and subconsciously glanced toward the second floor. "You dare to want the Pei family's second chance? You have no regard for your life." Mentioning the Pei family, both brothers turned even paler. "The Pei family? Which Pei family?" I asked. Before I could finish speaking, the two brothers scrambled out of the cafe. They kept looking back as they ran, as if there were monsters behind us. But when we turned around, there was nothing there. On the way home, Willow showed me her phone. "Look, your ex-husband." In the picture on the phone, Yuan Pei was wearing a tailored suit and looked no different than he did a year ago. But the man who was usually so refined had a hint of gloom between his brows. I pointed to another person in the photo, "Your ex-husband." Silence fell in the car. I hadn't expected the Pei family to make a comeback in just a year. "Do you think they'll take revenge on us?" A year ago, when the Pei family was on the verge of bankruptcy, Willow and I both filed for divorce from the Pei brothers. "Weston will definitely take revenge on the family." "I can't wait." Willow sneered. It was the family who forced Willow to divorce because they saw the Pei family on the verge of collapse. She told Weston she couldn't handle the hardship of life and wanted a divorce. Weston got into a car accident trying to stop her. Willow didn't dare visit him in the hospital and begged me to go see Weston for her. "What about you?" I heard that the formerly refined and gentle eldest young master of the Pei family is now a living devil that everyone fears. "Aren't you afraid of his revenge?" "Darling, there's only hate where there's love. And between Yuan and me, there was nothing." After separating from Willow at the cafe, I went to the club I had arranged to meet my agent. Before entering the private room, my assistant, Kit Chuan, stopped me. "The fattest one inside is the director of the new drama. Try not to get into a conflict with him." Willow's company had been struggling recently. Most of my savings were lent to her to help her through. To prevent us from ending up on the streets, I had to work hard. I nodded and pushed open the door. But I didn't expect to see a familiar face when I entered the room. Weston Pei was lounging on the sofa, his exquisite cane casually placed aside. When he saw me, he gave a mocking smile. "Aren't you two like Siamese twins? You even divorced together. Why are you working alone?" As soon as Weston spoke, I knew he had arranged this deliberately. The fat director paused and said carefully with a smile, "Young Master Pei knows her?" Weston glanced at the fat director and said sarcastically, "She's my sister-in-law." The fat director nearly fell off the sofa, and his forehead was already covered in sweat. "Don't worry, just an ex-sister-in-law." The fat director subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief and immediately became bolder. "What are you standing there for? Pour the wine." I stood at the door, my gaze fixed on Weston's crippled left leg. When I rushed to the hospital to see him that year, I met Yuan outside the operating room. Yuan was wearing a formal suit, sitting wearily on the bench outside the operating room. But when I was about to call out to him, I saw a woman in a formal dress walk up to him. My heart skipped a beat. In my mind, I saw him telling me that he was going out of town on a business trip. The woman gently hugged him. Yuan didn't push her away. His usually cold and frosty expression melted into a pool of spring water. The ringing of the phone interrupted my memories. Weston answered the phone in front of me. His usually playful expression slowly faded, replaced by unwillingness. I didn't make things difficult for her. As Weston spoke, his eyes fell on me, a woman like her who loves vanity. What's wrong with me giving her a little lesson? Weston hadn't finished speaking when an impatient, angry voice came from the phone. Then the phone was hung up. His face was grim, and he sat there without saying a word. I knew that the cooperation was not going to happen today. So, I turned around and left the private room. Not long after I left the club, a Maybach sped to the downstairs of the club. Yuan walked anxiously into the private room. Where is she? She left. Weston's voice grew softer and softer. Since Yuan's divorce, his usual gentle facade had been completely torn off. In Weston's eyes, his elder brother was like he was possessed, becoming tyrannical and moody. Yuan's cold eyes swept over Weston's leg and said coldly, I don't care how you want to take revenge on the Yi family. Weston picked up his cane and hurriedly stood up, about to explain. Yuan's voice was like it came from hell, scaring him into a cold sweat. If you dare to touch her, I'll cripple your other leg. Weston immediately fell silent, not daring to say another word. When I returned to the mountain villa in the northern suburbs, Willow's father had come. I was about to push open the door when I was interrupted by the conversation inside. I'm begging you, young Master Pei II has spoken. As long as you go to him, he'll let the Yi family go. Mr. Yi pleaded with Willow. You were the ones who wanted me to divorce him. Now it's good, after divorcing you're begging me to be his mistress? As Willow spoke, she drove her father out. But as soon as Mr. Yi was driven away, another group of people came. Because we couldn't pay off our debts, we mortgaged this house. They wanted to repossess the house and gave us a week to move out. Willow and I looked at each other. Why have we fallen into such a state? The fortune teller on the street said we were having bad luck, and we didn't believe it. Now, we wish we could find the fortune teller again to get a clear path. After a moment of silence, Willow made a painful decision. Why don't I go beg Weston? Deceive my ex-brother-in-law out of money to support you. I thought about Weston I saw at the club today, and my heart grew cold. I didn't tell Willow that Weston had a car accident and lost a leg. No, Weston is prideful and vengeful. I'm afraid he'll be bad for you. Willow pondered for a moment, but he's love-brained and easy to deceive. I thought of Weston's exquisite cane and shook my head. Then go beg Yuan. He's gentle and easy to talk to. Besides, you were married for 3 years. He won't make things difficult for you. The image of Yuan's indifferent and peaceful eyes behind his gold-rimmed glasses appeared in my mind. What marital affection was there between him and me? We were just the most familiar. Are strangers. I smiled and comforted Willow, not saying anything more. The next day, I changed into a rented haute couture dress and planned to go to a banquet to try my luck and see if I could get a sponsor. But on the way, I received a call from Willow. Willow's voice sounded like it was coming from a very open place. Where are you now? She hesitated for a while before telling me. Willow had gone to the Pei Manor where we used to live. She went to find Weston after all. Willow wandered around the old house, reminiscing about the happy days we used to spend there. She knew the whole house well. Willow kept talking to me while recalling those days. Suddenly, she raised her voice. Damn it. I knew it, no wonder our careers are so bad. It's the Pei family's 2 devils playing tricks. Willow walked into Weston's study and saw a table full of documents. She immediately understood why she had been running into roadblocks everywhere in her recent collaborations. Oh, what's this? A secret room? Willow's confused voice came from the receiver. I suddenly felt uneasy. Willow, don't meet him yet. Weston, he. Before I could finish speaking, Willow interrupted me with a scream. Wow, this secret room, it's so twisted. How could Weston have such hobbies in just 1 year? This whip, this chain, oh, how does this secret room connect to Yuan's study? My heart skipped a beat. The phone was silent for a while, and then came the sound of rustling wind. Willow's voice became a little flustered. As she quickly walked out of Yuan's study, she said breathlessly, "Crazy, crazy, our ex-husbands have gone crazy. Yao Yao, you can't go to the gala tonight. You must hide from Yuan, he..." Before Willow could finish speaking, there was a sharp, jarring sound on the phone. It seemed like the phone had fallen to the ground. After a while, Willow's voice sounded like it was coming from far away. "Weston, your leg." My heart instantly jumped to my throat. "Willow!" "Weston, why?" "Oh, you, let me go!" Willow's voice had a hint of crying. "Let you go? Dream on." There was a lot of static coming from the phone, and soon the phone was hung up. I quickly told the driver to turn around, but the car suddenly stopped. The door was suddenly opened from the outside. When I saw that it was Kit, I suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Kit looked confused. "Xiao Yao, why do you look so bad? The banquet is about to begin." My violently beating heart couldn't calm down for a long time. I grabbed Kit's hand and asked anxiously, "Did you drive here? I have an emergency. Please take me there first." Kit looked a little serious but still didn't ask any questions and nodded in agreement. When I got out of the car, I twisted my foot because I was too anxious. Kit was quick-witted and supported me. Before I could even care about the injury on my foot, I felt a strong gaze that made my back chill. I got into Kit's car. Kit went to greet the host first, asking me to wait for him in the car for 5 minutes. I was texting Willow in the car, but the car door was opened from the outside at this moment. "Kit, I'll send you the address. Let's take the highway quickly later." As I spoke, I looked up at the outside of the car door, but the moment I saw Yuan, I gasped. Yuan's gloomy, scarlet eyes flashed a hint of cold light when he saw me. His eyebrows curved, revealing a pale, sickly smile. Yuan reached out and tightly grabbed my wrist. His voice trembled as he tried to suppress his excitement. "Got you, darling. I'm here to take you home." "What are you doing?" Kit's voice came from not far away. He was surrounded by several men in black suits. Yuan pulled me out of the car and pinned me against the car door. I was trapped between him and the car, unable to move. Yuan's aggressive aura made me think I had mistaken him for someone else. Seeing that Yuan's men were still attacking Kit, I said to stop them, "Yuan, let him go." Yuan's sharp eyes swept over me, and a smile curled at the corners of his lips. "You're worried about him?" The Yuan I remembered always maintained a sense of calmness and self-restraint. But the person in front of me was completely the opposite. Before I could think more, a scream interrupted my thoughts. Kit painfully covered his right hand and curled up on the ground. "Wrong." Yuan turned his face to look at Kit on the ground, his voice calm and cold. "Both his hands touched you just now." As he spoke, he raised his hand, signaling to the people not far away. I quickly grabbed Yuan's hand. "Yuan, calm down. He's just my assistant. Let him go." The inexplicable anger in Yuan's chest disappeared in an instant. His eyes fell on my hand tightly holding him, and his tightly furrowed brow slowly relaxed. If I just felt strange just now, then now I can be completely sure that Yuan has gone crazy. "Okay, but you have to go home with me." I nodded carefully and let go of Yuan's hand. But just as I was about to let go, Yuan grabbed me tightly. The books say that when you encounter a mentally ill person, you can't anger them. I just soothed his emotions, so I didn't dare to struggle too much. Before getting in the car, I looked worriedly at Kit outside the car. But my vision was blocked in the next moment. I felt a cold touch on my eyes. Yuan gently tied my eyes with a tie. I subconsciously swallowed. This is not the Yuan I remember. The former Yuan was gentle and easygoing in front of outsiders. But to me privately, he was always a stern and serious person. He was the kind of person who could blush for 30 minutes if I said a dirty joke. Even in bed, if I suggested changing positions, he would reject me with a straight face. "Not good. No. Not possible." Yuan suddenly spoke at this time. "Don't look at him." Because I couldn't see, my senses were gradually amplified. Yuan's warm breath sprayed on my neck. He trapped me between his legs, and his slender, cold hands began to roam over my body. almost imperceptibly. I thought of what Willow had said on the phone just now. So, I questioned him. Why are you targeting us? My clothes slipped off at some point. Yuan bit hard on my shoulder. Aren't you short of money? Chloe Chu, sign the marriage agreement, and I'll give you money. Mr. Pei, isn't there another way we can work together? Yuan's hand on my waist suddenly tightened, and his deep voice suppressed anger. You can divorce me for money, why can't you marry me again for money? As soon as Yuan finished speaking, the car suddenly braked at this moment. I pulled up my clothes, pushed open the car door under Yuan's surprised gaze, and jumped out. Pointing to Yuan in the car, I shouted to the surrounding police officers, "Officer, it's him." I had secretly called the police before getting in the car. An hour later, I was taking a statement at the police station. Willow arrived soon after. She pushed open the door of the police station and rushed to me. Babe, you finally couldn't stand it anymore and attacked that pervert. I wanted to pull Willow and signal her to look behind her. But it was useless. Officer, I can testify that it was that pervert who had been harassing her. At this moment, the door was pushed open again. Weston's voice came, Bro, have you finally been caught? When he saw me, Weston paused for a moment and continued, What? Has the city hall moved to the police station? Willow's body stiffened for a moment, and her eyes began to flash Morse code when she looked at me. Willow, why is Yuan here? Because there was no substantial damage, the police advised us to settle privately. After leaving the police station, Willow grabbed me. Why did you and Yuan end up at the police station? I looked at the Pei brothers not far away who were waiting for us in front of the car. He beat Kit and kidnapped me. So, I called the police. Willow gave me a silent thumbs up after hearing that. I slapped her hand away and glared at H. What's going on with you and Weston? I see that his eyes are red. Didn't he do anything to you? He did. My eyes suddenly widened. He hugged my thigh and cried for 2 hours. I gave a thumbs up. Chloe, why didn't you tell me that Weston's leg? Willow's eyes were full of self-blame when she said that. Willow said that Weston's leg still had a chance of recovery, but it was because he had psychological trauma. It was hard to say how long it would take to recover. Chloe, my mom is gone now, and my dad can't control me anymore. Weston's leg is like that because of me. I want to be with him until his leg is healed. Willow's mother had a mental breakdown after Mystery had an affair and was sent to a mental hospital overseas by Mystery. Willow had been trying to find her mother's whereabouts. Therefore, Mystery used this as a threat to make Willow divorce. But soon after Willow found her mother passed away. Willow also broke off with the Yi family. This is a photo I took in Yuan's study. As Willow spoke, she handed her phone to me. The photo was taken in Yuan's study. The study was filled with photos of me. My heart trembled, and I controlled my trembling hand and continued to slide through the album. The year I decided to divorce Yuan was almost the lowest point in my life. Originally, my and Willow's plans were progressing steadily. But this year, we ran into roadblocks everywhere and even fell into a huge financial crisis. I finally crawled back from that desperate abyss, only to be almost kicked back to square one because of Yuan. I hesitated for a moment and looked at Yuan on the side, my eyes filled with undisguised coldness. Mr. Pei, tell me, what do you want? Yuan's clear gaze fell on my face. Sign the marriage agreement, move back to Pei Manor, and I'll pay off the money you owe. Yuan wanted to force me into a dead end and then control me? I lowered my eyes and reached out, taking a pen directly from Yuan's arms. Yuan's body stiffened suddenly, and his hot eyes fell on me. His habit hadn't changed, he always carried a pen with him. I signed my name without hesitation, slapped the document on his chest, and smiled, Happy remarriage, Mr. Pei. I just don't know if your fiancé knows about this. Before returning to the country, I had heard rumors that the Pei family was going to have a marriage alliance with the Zhou family. The Pei family had always valued being well-matched in social status. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been in a hurry to divorce me when my family had an accident. I returned to the villa that was about to be seized to pack my things. According to Yuan's request, I had to move back to Pei Manor today. Just as I was about to open the door, I heard the voice I least wanted to hear behind me. Zhou smiled. I heard you're back. I came specially to say hello. The sound of high heels rubbing against the marble slabs echoed in the corridor. Chloe, are you back to attend my wedding with Yuan? I raised my eyebrows slightly and looked at her coldly. My father and Zoe's father had initially started a company together. But later, there were flaws in the company's project, but only my father was imprisoned. The Chu family was liquidated overnight. My father died of a sudden heart attack in prison soon after. As soon as the Chu family went bankrupt, the Pei family's attitude towards me immediately underwent earth-shattering changes. And at that time, the Pei family and the Zhou family got closer and closer. Zoe slowly approached me, her eyes filled with disdain. Since you took the money in the first place, you should have rolled as far as you could. As Zoe spoke, she poked my shoulder hard with her finger. I slapped her hand away. She smiled instead of getting angry, throwing a red invitation at me. As sisters, remember to come to our wedding. As Zoe said that, she turned around to leave. Who knew that as soon as she turned around, she was splashed in the face with W. A tear from the water pipe in the garden. Zoe screamed. Willow turned a deaf ear, turning the water pressure to the maximum. Zoe lost her balance from the water pressure and fell to the ground. The noise attracted Zoe's bodyguards. Willow dropped the water pipe and protected me in front of her. Willow, I'm going to tear your mouth apart. Willow put her hands on her hips and snorted coldly. Miss Zhou should go change her clothes first, and don't catch a cold. Zoe was helped up by her bodyguards. She looked at me fiercely. Chloe, if you know what's good for you, stay away from Yuan. Without the Chu family, you're nothing. Willow wanted to turn on the water pipe again. Zoe quickly turned around and left. Seeing Zoe leave, Willow immediately turned around, her eyes full of worry. She didn't do anything to you, did she? I shook my head. Willow breathed a sigh of relief after hearing that and said fiercely, I'll see how long she can be arrogant. In the past year, Willow and I had secretly collected a lot of evidence of the Zhou family's illegal transactions in order to overturn the case for my father. If it hadn't been for the Pei family's sudden intervention, everything could have progressed smoothly. Willow's eyes fell on the red invitation in my hand. What's this? Zoe Zhou and Yuan Pei's wedding invitation. It's been rumored in the circle that she's going to marry Yuan. Although the Pei family didn't publicly announce your identity when you got married, people in the circle know. Zoe Zhou even wants a second-hand man? I looked at Willow and said leisurely, maybe third-hand. Willow looked at me in confusion until I explained to her everything that had just happened. She exclaimed, he's really shameless. As soon as your family went bankrupt, he immediately began to look for a new target. Later, the Pei family went bankrupt, and I thought retribution came so quickly. As a result, they made a comeback in less than a year. At this moment, the sound of a horn came from the gate. It was Weston coming to pick us up to go to Pei Manor. On the way back, Willow and Weston were lovey-dovey all the way. Looking at Willow, who had already defected to the enemy, I sighed with disappointment. Until Weston said to Willow with teary eyes, I know, you had no choice but to divorce me. I finally couldn't stand it anymore. Willow's divorce was unavoidable, and I was just a gold digger? Double standards. Weston tugged at Willow's skirt. Honey, she's scolding me. Willow, good scolding. Seeing that Weston was about to shatter, who knew that he would open his teary eyes and woof softly. Love-brained, damn it. When we arrived at Pei Manor, I found that everything was still the same as it was a year ago. The patch of hyacinths in the front yard that I had personally taken care of was still there. Seeing me standing still, Weston followed my gaze and explained, oh, my brother planted them himself. He treasures them so much. I thought they looked good the other day and picked one. He almost broke my hand. So, it wasn't the patch I planted. I like hyacinths. After moving to the Pei family, I found a florist and spent several months arranging the sea of flowers. But later, the Chu family fell, and Yuan gradually neglected me. We spent less and less time together. I didn't have the heart to take care of it anymore, so I left it to the butlers to take care of. But I don't know when, the flowers that were taken care of also began to wither. The land gradually became barren. I sneaked into Yuan's study while he wasn't there. The Pei family had been in contact with the Zhou family a lot later. Perhaps there were clues about the project my father was in charge of back then. I had always suspected that Zoe's father had framed my father. But while searching, I discovered something amazing. It was a document about Zhou. Zoe and I entered the same brokerage company back then. Initially, we debuted with the me of best friends. Later, because my father's project cut corners, causing the collapse of the building and people died as a result, I was condemned by public opinion along with it and gradually faded out of the public eye. I looked through that document. It not only recorded the evidence of Zoe guiding public opinion to cyberbully me, but also some photos of her and some high-level officials in improper transactions. I took pictures of them with my phone, but accidentally triggered the switch to the secret room. The moment the door of the secret room opened, I was a little dazed. I actually knew about this secret room. Pei Manor has a long history. This secret room has been there for a long time. Most of the things inside the secret room are Yuan's collections. The first time Yuan took me in there, I said that such a good place should be of great use. Yuan asked me what it could be used for. I casually drew on the paper. The more Yuan looked at it, the redder his face became. Finally, he turned around and left, not forgetting to say to me, "Unruly." I said he had no taste and no romance at all. I walked into the secret room while thinking. After walking a few steps, I heard a sound coming from inside the secret room. "How do you use this thing?" It was Willow's voice. I immediately quickened my pace. "Ah, it hurts. That's not how you use it, you idiot." "Then how do you use it?" "How would I know? You did it, don't you know?" "My brother did it, I just dug an extra door behind his back." Weston's voice? How strange. Walk faster. When I reached the depths of the secret room, I saw Weston Pei stripped to the waist, tied to a wooden frame. Willow was studying the tools in her hand with a serious expression. There was a moment of frozen silence. More shocking than Willow and Weston was the complete transformation of the secret room. It was almost exactly like the one I had casually drawn to tease Yuan Pei. "Chloe, look at this room, look at these props." I can't believe Yuan's so wild and private. I was sweating a little. Willow dropped what she was holding and started to walk towards me. But her gaze stopped abruptly when it landed on something behind me. Yuan Pei calmly surveyed the two in the room and said coldly, "Get out." Willow immediately tucked her tail between her legs and tried to sneak away. Yuan's eyes landed on Weston, tied to the wooden frame, and he added, "You too, get out." Weston started struggling frantically, and when he realized it was no use, he looked at Willow pitifully. Willow lowered her head, walked to Weston's side, and quickly untied him. The two of them, tails between their legs, slunk out through another door. The secret room fell silent, eerily silent. I turned to leave, but Yuan blocked my path. He reached out and gently brushed a stray strand of hair behind my ear, and I instinctively tensed. His hand trailed lightly across my jawline, then he grabbed my chin, forcing me to look him in the eye. "Are you satisfied with this room?" My eyes fell on Yuan's face. In my mind's eye, I saw a restrained Yuan Pei wearing gold-rimmed glasses, a tight-tailored suit, handcuffed in a dimly lit room, and then I immediately stopped my daydreaming. If Yuan had been this enlightened when we got married, I don't know how happy I would have been. Yuan picked up a silver handcuff from a nearby shelf. I shivered as the cold metal touched my skin. Yuan's deep voice sounded in my ear. "Chloe, don't you want to try it?" "Mr. Pei, this is hardly proper." Yuan and I were originally in an arranged marriage. We both had no objections to business arrangements. We had a low-key wedding. My acting career was just starting then, and Yuan was just beginning to take over the Pei family. So there was no honeymoon. The Pei family didn't publicly announce my identity, and I never made my married status public. Because it was an arranged marriage, I didn't have any illusions about Yuan. Marriages between large families are always about interests more than feelings. Yuan wasn't like Weston, he was raised from a young age to be the heir. He was calm, reserved, and rarely smiled, a complete stick in the mud. But the Yuan after our marriage was completely different from the one I remembered. Yuan always had a stern face, and just standing there, he exuded an aura of authority. But in private, I found that he loved to laugh. Later, I realized that he seemed to only laugh with me. Yuan was actually very caring. Although he was a pampered young master, I always received meticulous care when I was with him. After we got married, Yuan spoiled me rotten. For my first birthday, Yuan took me to the mountain villa in the northern suburbs so we could have some alone time. But that day, because of the heavy rain, a landslide blocked the road down the mountain. Yuan and I were trapped in the mountain villa. Because it was the rainy season, it was raining almost every day we were in the villa. Since there was nowhere to go, I could only stare out the window in a daze. The sound of rain pattered against the window. I looked at the puddles in the yard, suppressing the urge to run out and play in the water. I had been bound by the Chu family's rules since I was a child, but I had a rebellious streak in my bones. To please my parents, I tried to maintain the image of a proper lady, not doing anything out of line. Yuan put down his book by the fireplace and followed my gaze to the window. Want to go out and play? I turned to look at him, surprised that he had read my mind. Perhaps my expression was too shocked, and Yuan couldn't help but laugh. He went to the storage room and found a pair of rain boots, put them on for me, and then took me to the yard to play in the water. As soon as I got to the yard, I ran off to splash in the puddles. It was still raining, and Yuan held up an umbrella, a faint smile on his face, and just looked at me deeply. I got playful and deliberately jumped in to a puddle near Yuan. When the mud splashed on his white shirt, I remembered that Yuan was a neat freak. Yuan didn't say anything. I thought he was angry, but he suddenly threw away the umbrella, grabbed my hand, and joined me in splashing through the puddles. It was the first time I saw the unknown side of the steady and reserved Pei family's eldest son in front of outsiders. Later, we both returned to the house covered in mud. When we went into the bathroom, I took the initiative to kiss him. The bathtub was filled with water, and the bathroom was filled with steam. I looked at Yuan through the mist. Yuan washed the mud off me, and we fooled around in the bathroom for a long time. He only carried me back to the bedroom after I was exhausted. In front of Yuan, he allowed me to be indulgent. If I wanted to do something, even if he didn't understand, he would support me. At that time, even though I was busy and tired from work, I made it a habit to call him every day. Yuan didn't say much on the phone, but he always responded to me. Most of the time, I just wanted to tell him, Yuan, the weather is nice today. Yuan once asked me why I always told him about the weather. Are you a weather reporter? I just put my hands on his shoulders, smiled at him, and didn't say anything. After that, we had a very sweet time. Until my father was suddenly imprisoned, breaking everything. Yuan began to distance himself from me. He either stayed at the company or flew abroad on business trips. I had less and less time alone with him. Not long after my father was imprisoned, he died of a heart attack. My mother was too sad and fell ill. All the debts fell on my shoulders, and to make matters worse, I was temporarily replaced as the lead in several of my shows. I ran into walls everywhere and immediately guessed that someone was deliberately targeting me. Yuan's mother found me at that time. She offered a considerable price, hoping that Yuan and I could get a divorce. The Pei family was already complicated. His mother hoped that Yuan's wife would at least be able to help him in his career. Only in this way could Yuan gain a foothold in the Pei family. She knew that my mother was seriously ill and needed money urgently. I refused on the spot. I thought that if it were Yuan, he would do the same. At least he could help me. Even though I hadn't seen Yuan in 6 months at that time. But later, I saw the divorce agreement he had hidden under the documents in his study. When I fell into this relationship, Yuan withdrew. Cold and decisive. As if everything with me was just a game. After that day, my heart slowly cooled down. The crisp sound of metal pulled me back from my memories. Yuan handcuffed himself with the silver handcuffs. My breath hitched, and I frowned slightly when I looked at him. Was he inviting me to play with him? Weston burst into my room, cursing and asking me why I had handcuffed his brother in the secret room. He handcuffed himself, do you believe it? Weston looked choked. Yes, ever since you left, sister-in-law, my brother hasn't been quite right. Weston had just finished speaking when the door was kicked open. Honey, you're trending. Willow rushed in with a flustered expression. Weston pointed to himself in confusion and was about to go over when Willow pushed him away. At Willow's prompting, I opened my phone. Photos of Ewan and me in the car had been taken by paparazzi. Zhou even forwarded the photos with the caption, "I believe him." The caption gave the internet users plenty of room for interpretation. Plus, some so-called insiders had revealed that the Pei and Zhou families were going to get married. For a time, the internet users attacked me. Chloe Chu, this nobody is so shameless. Zoe is about to get engaged to President Pei, and she still doesn't know her place and is sticking to him? Didn't Chloe Chu fail in the country and go abroad? Wow, she's even stealing her sister's boyfriend. How shameless. Upstairs, please clarify that our Zoe is not sisters with that kind of morally corrupt little actress. Seeing that the post scolding me had already gained a lot of traction, Weston was shocked and asked, "When did you remarry my brother?" As he spoke, he held his phone up to me. I saw that Ewan had posted a status on his account. Married, do not disturb. The status included our marriage certificate. The time the status was posted was almost within 5 seconds of Zhou's. At this time, Kit Chuan, who had been out of contact for several days, finally called me. Chloe, director Fletcher Fong wants to invite you to star in his new movie. I've scheduled a meeting with him for tomorrow. I had lost contact with Kit ever since we parted ways in front of the club that day. No matter how many calls I made, it showed that his phone was turned off. After I asked Kit where he was, I immediately rushed over. When I saw Kit, his right hand was in a cast, and he was using his left hand to add sugar to the coffee in front of him. Because he wasn't used to it, half of the sugar was spilled on the table. I walked over, took his spoon, and added 3 spoonfuls of sugar to his coffee. Kit thanked me with a smile, but his eyes were always on the coffee in front of him. I've received so many cooperation invitations these days. Chloe, if things continue like this, both the penalty and Auntie's medical expenses will be covered. After my family went bankrupt, I was also blacklisted by the company. Only Kit remained loyal to me. Later, Willow and I went abroad, planning to make a comeback. Kit accompanied me through all the hardships along the way. He was with me in my most helpless and confused moments, helping me take care of my seriously ill mother. I heard you remarried him? Congratulations. Kit's voice was full of bitterness, but he was smiling. I've already anonymously sent the information you sent me to the major media outlets. I thought we would need a longer time to bring down the Zhou family. It was Ewan. If it weren't for the information in Ewan's study, we wouldn't have been able to achieve our goals so quickly. No matter what Ewan's purpose was in investigating them, since I saw it, I couldn't not use it. What are you going to do after that? Kit asked me casually. I raised my eyes to look into his eyes. In a while, after everything is settled, I'll divorce him. A glimmer of light flashed in Kit's eyes, but it quickly dimmed. He looked at something behind me with a slightly frightened expression. A cold aura came from behind me. Ewan's cold voice was slightly angry. Divorce? Did you ask my opinion? Ewan restrained his anger and pulled me into the stairwell. He pushed me against the wall. The dark, damp stairwell, the safety door was tightly closed. Ewan's men didn't know where to take Kit. I pushed Ewan away forcefully, but my hands were held by him with one hand, imprisoned above my head. Let go, I said coldly. Ewan looked gloomy, but a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He lowered his head and bit me hard on the shoulder. I endured the pain and cursed, "Are you a mad dog?" Ewan smiled instead of getting angry. Yes, I'm a mad dog, an unwanted mad dog. My struggling hands suddenly stopped. The Ewan in my memory was always measured and rarely angry. But the Ewan in front of me made me think for a moment that I was important to him. I laughed at my own thoughts and laughed out loud subconsciously. What are you laughing at? Ewan's voice was lost. You're busy pursuing your ambitions, weighing me, abandoning me. After you've achieved your goals, you want to turn around and look at me. But, Yuen, why do you think I'll be waiting for you? I'm very vengeful. You weren't there when I needed you most. So, don't come in the future. Yuen's pupils shrank suddenly, and his mind went blank. He wanted to explain, but when he opened his mouth, he found that he couldn't make a sound. I broke free from his restraint and was about to leave when Yuen's voice came from behind me. Like a drowning person making the last, most useless struggle. If he comes looking for you again, I'll make sure he can't survive in this city. After that, Kit never appeared again. Yuen arranged a new assistant for me. After Zhou's scandals were exposed, she became an outcast that everyone hated. Immediately afterward, the Zhou family behind her also became entangled in legal disputes because of the building collapse that year. Because my identity as Mrs. Pei was revealed, I had more and more resources at my disposal. I joined the new show of the director I once admired the most and began to frequently go in and out of the production crew. Yuen had almost become my personal driver. Wherever I went, he went. His presence on set always caused a stir. When the new show started filming, the director gave each actor a starting gift. Yuen turned around and gave each staff member and actor on set an LV bag. The director ordered milk tea for the entire crew. Yuen turned around and called the Michelin restaurant's chef directly to the set. He knew that I admired this director the most. So he always tried his best to compete with the director. I was afraid that this would cause trouble for the crew. So I pulled Yuen aside and said sternly, "What exactly do you want? Don't get a divorce." My heart trembled violently, thinking that he knew that I was working hard to earn money to prepare for a second divorce. "Okay, don't get a divorce." Yuen stared into my eyes, a look of unwillingness rising in his usually calm and indifferent eyes. His voice was a little helpless and bitter when he spoke. "Did you lie to me?" "I didn't lie to you." My voice was terribly calm. Yuen looked at me quietly. He knew I was lying to him. At this time, there was a commotion on set. Someone shouted loudly, "The scaffolding is collapsing. Be careful." Before I could react, I was pulled into Yuen's arms. My vision flipped in an instant. Yuen was lying on top of me. He used his body to shield me from the falling lights. "Yuen, are you okay?" Yuen hugged me tightly, but didn't respond to me. Until I felt blood on my hand. My mind went blank in an instant. A few days later, Yuen woke up from his coma. He saw me in the crowd surrounding the bed, and then smiled innocently and called out, "Sister Chloe." Yuen became even more stupid than Weston. That was Willow's original words. The doctor said that because of brain trauma, Yuen's intelligence regressed to that of an 8-year-old child. Not long after, we took Yuen back to Pei Manor. Willow and Weston took over Yuen's company affairs and were extremely busy. I also realized that Yuen had turned the Pei Group from loss to profit in the past year. He had risen from the brink of bankruptcy to become an industry leader. Yuen no longer had to be restrained by his father. When Weston came to the set to pick me up to see Willow, he asked me what my plans were for the future. I looked out the window and answered ambiguously, "Let's see." Weston paused with his hand holding the crutch and said to himself, "I never thought that my brother would truly fall in love with anyone. He's not like me." Since he was little, my mother expected him to take over the Pei family. My father has many illegitimate children, and 1 or 2 always pop up every now and then. The more my mother forced him, the more he hated my father. Actually, I understand. If my father didn't have so many heirs, my brother wouldn't have to be forced so hard. I've never seen my brother happy since I was a child, until he married you. In that 1 year, sister-in-law, you don't know, my brother's change was like he was possessed. In that 1 year, I felt that he was a little bit like a person. It's just that later, something happened to your family, and I saw my brother immediately obediently following the family's arrangements, contacting the daughters of their large families. Weston smiled as he spoke. I'm not surprised at all. In his eyes, interests determine the position, and the position doesn't talk about feelings. The car fell silent. We didn't speak again until the car arrived at the wedding dress shop that Willow had booked. During the idle time of filming the new show, I would accompany Yuan at Pei Manor. In the afternoon, I accompanied him in the study. I read, and Yuan quietly had afternoon tea next to me. When I was tired from reading, I looked up at him. Am I your pawn? Discarded at will when I'm no longer needed? I rested my head on my hand and used my finger to poke Yuan's cheek. Isn't the word shared hardship in your brain? Yuan held a piece of tiramisu and looked at me with a sincere look. I was a little annoyed and continued to poke his face. Yuan paused with his hand holding the spoon and looked at me deeply. I remembered that year in the mountain villa, he looked at me letting loose and splashing in the puddles, with the same look. In a daze, I felt a wet touch on my finger. Yuan took advantage of my carelessness, held my hand, and gently licked it. I was startled and quickly withdrew my hand. Yuan's burning gaze fell on my face. I only felt a heat on my face and quickly got up and left the room. Willow and Weston weren't there, and Pei Manor seemed too quiet. Even if Yuan became an idiot, he still looked noble and self-possessed on the outside. After the work of the production crew was over, I would come back to accompany him. Sometimes when I came back late, Yuan would open his watery eyes and complain to me in a huff. Are you going to abandon me? Every time I was questioned like this, my heart would tremble violently. I just chuckled and said comforting words to children. I was very good at it. How could I abandon you? I hugged him gently, but didn't see Yuan's face reflected in the mirror, gradually cooling down. Not long after, my movie was released and received rave reviews. I was preparing to follow the production crew for national promotions. The only one who knew I was leaving was Willow. Willow found me at night. Aren't you going to wait until my and Weston's wedding is over before you leave? I responded to her while packing my luggage. One wedding is enough. Willow and I had married into the Pei family one after the other. Will you come back? What about your marriage with Big Brother? Let's go through a divorce lawsuit. Willow looked at me, hesitating to speak, until a sound came from the door. Yuan stood at the door, staring blankly at me. Afraid of the dark, want to sleep with Sister Chloe. Willow saw this and made an excuse to leave the room immediately. I looked at Yuan at the door and sighed. Ever since Yuan was injured, he only seemed to be close to me. He always said that he was afraid of the dark and didn't dare to sleep alone, and then pestered me. Because he was very well behaved when he slept, except for holding me tightly like a large doll, there were no extra movements. I thought about not arguing with an idiot, so I didn't refuse. At night, I was awakened by a coldness behind me. I was hugged tightly by Yuan from behind, and just as I was about to get up, there was a soft sob behind me. My body paused and didn't struggle anymore. I just listened to him cry all night. When I woke up the next day, he was already gone. The morning mist in the courtyard had not yet dissipated. I took my luggage and walked through the courtyard all the way, passing through the patch of hyacinths that Yuan had planted. I didn't look back, and I didn't stop. I didn't even notice the pair of eyes that were watching me deeply from behind the French window on the second floor. Later, every time I went to a city, I would receive a bouquet of hyacinths. The card on the bouquet was very special. Not a congratulatory message, but a statement about the weather. The weather is nice today. The weather is cloudy today. The people I was traveling with joked, "What is this weather forecast?" Only the director smiled and said, "Such a romantic confession?" Confession? Is this a confession? Isn't it just talking about the weather? The director walked out of the room, took out a cigarette, and said before leaving the room, "How does that saying go? I want to call you and tell you the weather is nice, to tell you I love you. Just like people love hope and love certainty. It's just that Yuan understood too late." The end bonus, Yuan for Yuan, marriage was a transaction and a cooperation. The Chu family was large and had a great help to the Pei family. So his marriage with Chloe Chu was a good deal. It's just that he himself didn't expect that he would invest feelings in a deal. The Chu family lost power and collapsed, which was a bad move for the Pei family. Could it be salvaged? Maybe, but it wasn't necessary. So he began to distance himself from her, ignoring her. But he never thought about leaving her. He followed his father's arrangements and contacted new objects. But he ignored that people suffer from indifference, deliberate neglect, and after a long time, their hearts naturally cool down. He never knew why Chloe loved to call him so much when they first got married. Sometimes she didn't even say anything. She just said to him, "Ewan, the weather is nice today." Later, after Chloe left, he accidentally saw that passage in a book, "I want to call you and tell you the weather is nice, to tell you I love you." Just like people love hope and love certainty. When he suddenly realized, he used his power to try to keep her, catering to her preferences, and even pretending to be a fool. The suitor humbly fell into the dust, but in the eyes of the one who doesn't love, it's a self-moved monologue. In the many years after that, wherever Chloe went, he followed. Holding her beloved hyacinths, he just watched from afar, trying to have a moment of looking back. Let everything return to the beginning. They could start over.